If you were to ask me, after my experience at the Farallon Islands, would I ever even think about swimming there?
Yeah, how do you track sharks exactly? Like, what do you use? Are there any apps that you go to help you figure out where they're at?
It's got the satellite tags.
Yep.
And when the sharks actually come to the surface, when their dorsal fin breaks the surface, is the only time that those satellite tags are able to triangulate with the satellites up. Hey friends, welcome to my first episode of Ocean Talks of 2026. I'm between Santa Monica and Malibu at Will Rogers Beach here. Perfect January day for searching for white sharks. I would not be surprised if I found white sharks today. But before I do a search, I want to talk to Dr. Phil Stearns. He is a veteran of this channel. We haven't had him on for about 5 or 6 months, so we're just going to talk about a recent observational paper that we published, and also talk about shark news and wherever the conversation takes us. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a while.
It's been a while, yes. Life catches up to you. I've been pretty busy, but it's great to be back out here, that's for sure.
What are you up to these days?
Lately, well, I've been focused on the educational side of things. So I do teach a general biology class, freshman at college. And then the other days of the week, I'm down at SeaWorld San Diego, where I get to talk about our amazing sharks and rays there, as we are redoing our shark encounter right now. But once that reopens this year, it'll be expanded. We're going to have new sharks in there, and it'll be bringing our guests even closer to the sharks there.
All right. Well, it sounds like you've been busy.
Yeah, you can say that,
Yeah. Well, I've been pretty busy as well. I was hanging out in Brazil for quite a while on a big photo shoot.
Yep.
And then I'm headed off to Mexico to film Shark Week here in a couple weeks. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait to share with you guys some of the footage that I've captured for Shark Week next year. And another special project that you will eventually hear about that is going to be very exciting. But what we want to talk about first, though, is the paper that we recently published.
Yes.
Tell us what that's about.
Yeah, so you had seen two very unique observations of white sharks swatting or turning their dorsal fins, and I'm thinking, oh, that's another unique one that has not been documented or recorded in the literature, so I figured we should definitely write another paper about that, another research observation. Kind of just took it from there.
So when I first filmed this, and I put a video about it up early when I filmed it on the channel, the dorsal fin behavior we're talking about is when that dorsal fin moves laterally. It appears to move laterally and it hits a log or a piece of wood that was floating there, right? And so when I first filmed that, I didn't think it was anything novel or anything new. I just thought it was like, hey, this is pretty cool. Dolphins do this all the time. But that's when you told me that it was possibly something that needs to be looked at more deeply, right?
Yes. I mean, in total, there's probably 10 papers or less on dorsal fin function in sharks, and in none of them has there ever been an instance of a shark rotates its dorsal fin or swats at something with its dorsal fin. So, I figured we need to definitely get this in the literature. So that was a fun test to tackle.
I tell you what was fun for me is the peer review process on this paper was insanely cool experience for me, because what we did is we submitted it, and we not only submitted it to shark scientists, we submitted it to biomechanical experts, right? Yep. Is that the right term?
I think there were we had a biomechanist possibly, and then a sensory biologist as well.
Okay.
So we had like two dynamic, different, unique reviewers, and they both gave us very good perspectives on the paper.
Well, their feedback, their expertise in their respective field of not just necessarily sharks, but fish biology and fish movement, really honed in our paper to be much better, right? And so that process, for me in particular, as a citizen scientist, was very telling, made the paper much better. We got it published in the Journal of Fish Biology, yep.
What's interesting is it was 2005, so over 20 years ago, there was a researcher that really looked at the musculature and the tissue of white shark dorsal fins, and he hypothesized that the dorsal fin is both a dynamic, he called it a dynamic stabilizer, so it will stabilize the shark, but he did also say it could be flexible, but he never saw it in action. And then you, about 20 years later, saw it in action. So you're supporting what he had proposed, which is awesome, but you actually got the footage. And what was really interesting is seeing it hit objects at the surface. So that's that was just a super novel observation.
Well, if you guys want to read the paper, go to the links in the video down below. We put a link to it. It is not an open paper, though,
Not
right?
open access this time, but you can email either one of us if you want the PDF. You can request it through ResearchGate, so there's different ways of getting it. But yes, well, if you need it, happy to send it to you.
Yeah, we'll definitely send it to you. Send us an email, let us know how to contact you, and we'll send you a copy or a PDF of the paper. It's worth a read, especially if you're into sharks, and who isn't into sharks? So other things that have been going on in the shark world.
Yes,
Last week we had a surfer up in the Red Triangle who was knocked off the board, suffered some scratches or some lacerations. So that was also a confirmed shark incident up there. And, you know, it is that time of year.
It is.
The sharks are not getting more aggressive, right? It's just normal for this time of year in the Red Triangle. But what you got to take away from this is you got to learn from it.
Yes.
You have to. If you're going to be in the water, you have to understand this is the time when these big sharks are near California coasts.
Yeah, I mean, there are signs posted in certain areas, and if you ask any of the surfers up there, I think they're very well aware of the situation. But you have to be smart. You know, there's a seal population nearby, sea lions as well. You know, large white sharks aggregate up there during this time of the year. It's just you do enter the water at your own risk. So just be smart in the water. That's the best advice I can give. Yeah,
and you know, it's still incredibly rare to have a fatality from a shark. But it does happen. These are apex predators in many cases where they live, because one of the biggest misconceptions is that all sharks are apex predators, but they are not.
They are definitely not.
So, you know, there are areas, regional areas, where probably your chances of encountering a white shark or having a negative encounter, like in the Red Triangle, are higher. We just got to be smart about how we enter the water, right?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I still take the global numbers in. A lot of people enter the water. There's still a very low amount of negative shark interactions, that's for sure. But yes, in those areas where you do know there's large white sharks, your level, you know, your level or your increased frequency with those white sharks can definitely go up.
I have a really good example, actually. So I was at the Farallon Islands, and in a span of about 3 hours, I witnessed 2 white sharks just devour elephant seals. It was one of the most gruesome, crazy things I've ever witnessed, and all within 2 hours, I saw this big predation event. And so recently, there was a lady that swam from the Farallon Islands to San Francisco, that 30-something miles across shark-infested waters, right? But she didn't have any kind of incident. But if you were to ask me, after my experience at the Farallon Islands, would I ever even think about swimming there? Absolutely not. No way I would swim near the Farallon Islands myself. That's my personal decision. Some people, like that lady did, that's their risk. But the bottom line is you're taking that risk. You're taking that calculated risk by doing it. I just choose not to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you enter the water at your own risk, and then no one's forcing you to go in the water. If you want to go do it, you have the right and freedom to do so. But just know you're entering a level or an area where there is a higher level of risk of encountering a white shark. So, I mean, if you want to go for it, go ahead. But just do know the risk once you go in there.
Yeah, and you know, in a couple weeks, I'm headed to go film some big white sharks. I can't disclose the location, but you will hopefully see it on Shark Week. Well, you will see it on Shark Week next year. But you know, those kind of locations that are secluded where there's no humans, I would think that if somebody's swimming there, perhaps, this is just a theory, the rate of being attacked or having a negative encounter would be higher, maybe, right?
Yeah, I mean, you do have to wonder. It's something the white sharks don't generally encounter, and they are curious animals. So, you know, there's possibly the investigatory bite, or there could be, dare I say, a predation attempt. But if you're going in an area where they don't usually encounter swimmers, that would be the last thing I would do. I would not, as myself, I would not go in those certain areas for sure to go swim.
Bottom line, if you're a swimmer, and there's a lot of swimmers in this beach, actually. There's a lot of swimmers, and I filmed swimmers with white sharks at this beach. I filmed a 15-foot white shark at this beach less than a month ago. Would I swim here? I probably would. I've kayaked here. Now, go swim, again, near the Farallon Islands or some remote place in Mexico? Probably not. Probably not.
No, I mean, I've swam on various beaches up and down the coastline from San Diego and La Jolla all the way up to Santa Barbara. And I'm okay. No issues here. So, yeah, the Southern California coastline, I have no trepidation of entering the water here. But up in the Santa Cruz, Monterey Bay, Farallon Island area, no, I will stay out of the water there.
You know, it gives me an idea. We should go check out that area. We should do an expedition to the Red Triangle, and I want to show you guys just how many big white sharks are possible to see from the drone there. I did go up there a couple years ago. I spent some time up in the Red Triangle. I filmed sharks at, for example, at Dillon Beach. There's a lot of white sharks up there. I filmed some sharks around the Wildcat Beach area, which actually had a unconfirmed fatality there a couple years ago. I can't remember if that was actually confirmed to be a shark attack in the files, but the long story short there, they believe that it was a consumption event, which, you know, tends to happen recently in Australia a lot, right? Well, speaking of Australia, I did release that video about Australia, and if you haven't checked it out, go check out in the video description below my video about Australia and the numbers behind how a lot of us think that, and me included, I was under the perception that Australia had just more aggressive sharks. But when you break down the numbers, that's not really the case, is it?
No, it's not. So, I mean, I will say, there is the curiosity among scientists if the white sharks across the world differ in their behavior and possible aggression you can correlate in there. But once you go towards the numbers, there's not much difference amongst the other white shark hot spots in the world. So, no, not so much of a difference.
Well, the other part about that is I wish I had money every time that people told me that the sharks in Australia are bigger than the ones here. It just doesn't work that way, folks. It doesn't work that way. You know, there are large sharks all across the world. We're just talking about white sharks, by the way. There are big white sharks across the whole world. It's such a regional thing. There's no competition of which sharks are bigger on Australia, U.S. I mean, deep blue is basically a Eastern Pacific white shark.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest white shark that's been documented so far here. So, you know, we have really big sharks. I think the biggest one I saw this year is about 18 feet.
Yeah. I mean, to me, you're getting to the point, it's an adult white shark. Is there much of a difference between a 15-foot and an 18-foot white shark? I mean, it's a very large animal that's got a large mouth with very large teeth. So, I mean, you're starting to get to, I don't know, semantics there in a way about how it's a large white shark either way.
If you ask me, it's the 10 to 13 footers or 14 footers that are the ones that I would not want to be around more than like a 15, 16 footer. From my countless hours of observations, I find that the bigger sharks are almost more apprehensive. Maybe because they have more experience. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's this great debate right now. I mean, it's still going on. It's what is the size range that is responsible for most negative interactions? And then what happens with the shark as it gets older and gains more experience on the wild? You know, I do think there's, you know, I don't want to say substantial evidence, but these larger white sharks, because they're so big and girthy, I do think they're very opportunistic with the scavenging. And they like to scavenge whales because chasing after a sea lion or even doing the predation or the ambush on a sea lion, it takes a lot of energy to go into it, but those 10 to 13 footers are like prime. They're the perfect shape for it, perfect size. So I do wonder if the larger ones start to become a little more scavengy, I guess you could say, as they get larger.
Well, I know that the difference, when I go to Guadalupe Island when it was open, the difference between the sharks in August and the sharks in October was almost night and day. Because in October you were getting the really, really big ones, and in August you're getting those 10 to 13 foot adult, or not, subadult males. And those things are feisty. Like as a photographer, I prefer August because I was seeing sharks breaching and going after stuff, and like they were really feisty. Whereas in you know, October, November when I was there, those big sharks, they just pack more punch when they would make the attacks on things, right? But they weren't necessarily like moving so like testosterone filled aggressive. So what else is going on? You got any questions for me?
Yeah, how do you track sharks exactly? Like, what do you use? Are there any apps that you go to help you figure out where they're at?
Oh man, you know what? A lot of people ask me that all the time. You know, I basically track sharks just with these, you know, the drone right here, and get the drone up and do that. But regarding apps, there are a few apps out there that you can check out that you are able to see near real-time locations. My favorite one on the East Coast is the Sharktivity app.
Sharktivity app, yep.
Go check that out. I'm going to link to it down below in the video description. The Sharktivity app, if you live on the East Coast, you're able to see pretty much real-time data of white sharks in the Cape Cod area. And some of those white sharks get all the way down to the Gulf Coast,
which they're doing,
which is pretty awesome. So check out the Sharktivity app. Here on the West Coast, there's an app that I use occasionally called Expedition White Shark. And that is an app that I'll link to in the video description as well. Now, there's not as many sharks tagged on the West Coast as there is on the East Coast on that app. But you can still see some pretty large white sharks that pop up every once in a while. What that app does is it's got the satellite tags, and when the sharks actually come to the surface, when their dorsal fin breaks the surface, is the only time that those satellite tags are able to triangulate with the satellites up above and give you an approximate location of that shark. That's very different from the acoustic arrays that are set up in Cape Cod, for example.
Yeah, so the sharks will have the tag on them, and they have to swim by the receiver, and then it'll ping on the acoustic receiver underwater, whereas the satellite tag has to come up to the surface so it can get the signal to the satellite. So yeah, much different ways of tracking sharks. It's interesting because you do have to rely on, in one case, it coming up to the surface. In the other case, it has to swim by the darn receiver for you to get the signal.
Yeah, and if you don't have a receiver in an area, then you don't know the shark is there. Yeah. So, each has its own compromises. Some of, honestly, the ones that you drill in, the sat tags, they're just a little bit more intrusive on the dorsal fin, unfortunately. But the data that comes back of them, it's a net positive.
It is. I mean, we've gained a lot. We've seen, especially the white sharks go off to the shared offshore foraging area, or the white shark cafe as they call it. So because of those tags, we're able to figure out they go offshore and then they come back, which is a huge study that came out mid 2005, I think, right around there. Big paper.
So the Sharktivity app up in Cape Cod, again, that's the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy's app. That app has kind of a hybrid model, right? You got live sat tag data, and you have ping data from the acoustic receivers there. So there's a lot of misconceptions about tag data, and a lot of people think that when you tag a shark, you can always see where it is. But the bottom line is, especially with the sat tags, unless that dorsal fin breaks the surface, you're not going to see it. Right. And what is interesting, though, is how rare it is for some of these sharks to actually break the surface of the water. Some will go 2-3 years without ever coming up to the surface of the water.
It is amazing. I mean, there's this aspect that, the shark's going to move horizontally. It can go long distances, but the vertical aspect of a shark's life, where they can go up and down through the water column, but yet they will never come up to the surface. They'll stay just below it, maybe a few feet below it, but they stay in the water. And I do think it is unique to individual behavior in some cases, because some white sharks, especially that we see out here, are at the surface all the time. They're up there very often, but then other sharks, they will stay down deeper in the water.
And those sat tags are key in discovering the shark cafe, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, those tags, once they put them on, they revealed that, hey, the sharks up by the Farallon Islands go all the way offshore, and then they return. So, and they go there at a specific time of the year, and it's a very interesting thing. So it's huge study.
That's the biggest, probably the biggest question in white shark science right now, right? At least for me it is. The most intriguing thing is, what are these sharks doing going out 1,200 miles off the coast of Baja, California? What are they doing way out there? And they go there like clockwork, mating?
Mating.
Right?
It's a possibility. I will not rule that out, because you do see there is a little bit of a difference between the male and female behavior. It could be like some sort of courtship thing going on where they're waiting for the right moment. So that's one strong possibility. Yeah,
and some of these sharks, when they get out there, the tag data shows that they just accelerate down to even 300 feet and come back up, and they just keep doing this pattern. So many questions, and so that the tag data is important for that kind of stuff. I can't wait to see the new science that's coming out of there.
Yeah, I mean, every year we seem to get a little more insight of what could be going on, and then we're going to gain more of an understanding that, is it just a foraging area? Is it for mating? Could it be for both, possibly? It's like, hey, there's a lot of food here. It does take a lot of energy during the mating process. So, I mean, there could be a lot going on, and hopefully we do finally solve that mystery.
Well, there's a possibility that big shark I saw here 3 weeks ago at this beach, a 15, 16 footer, if that's a female or even a big male, you know, it's a good chance it's out there now.
Yeah, it could be on its way out there right now, indeed.
Yeah, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to launch the drone.
Yeah.
Let's do a live search.
Let's do it.
Let's see if we can find a white shark out there. And who knows, maybe we'll see a big 15-foot white shark. In the meantime, guys, thank you again for all your support, especially to my supporters over there at Patreon and my YouTube members. Thank you so much. Without you, this channel would not be possible. Thanks, Phil, for joining me today.
Always happy to be out here, happy to talk sharks and do our thing. It's a wonderful time.
All right. I'm going to give you a little behind-the-scenes search right now. Phil and I are going to look for some sharks. Got the monitor set up. As always, thank you, and we'll catch you next time.